Now, ladies and gentlemen, it genuinely feels like when it rains, it pours. Here in South Africa, it really just feels like bad news continues to happen to us, and we're not entirely, you know, innocent in all of this. The problem, of course, in South Africa, the main issue is that our government continues to preach neutrality, yet pick sides in every single one of their actions. The most recent action that is about to bite us probably quite firmly in on the butt cheeks is this. Taiwan is weighing SA chip curb after Pretoria mission downgrade. Okay, so let's just quickly talk about how we got here. So first things first, Taiwan is considering banning or severely jacking up the prices on semiconductors to South Africa. There's a number of reasons for it, and we're going to get into all of that, but let's just quickly talk about what is semiconductors and why are they important. Without getting super technical, they're the juice that makes everything else work. From computer monitors to graphics cards to CPUs to even something like my keyboard has its own chipset within it. Your car, well, to be fair, they have different tiers, right? So these will not be tier one or A tier. These will be sort of just throwaway. But your smartwatch, your cell phone, your car, your dishwasher, your washing machine, your fridge, literally you name it, in the modern era, it has a semiconductor. It has a chipset within it that controls basic functions. These can be anything from like super intricate cell phone and car chipsets to even something as simple as moving your car seat up and down, right? Forward and back. All of that is controlled with a chipset of varying degrees. So losing access to the chipset from Taiwan that makes about 90% of all the chipsets in the world, yes, and they make almost all of the high tier chipsets that would go into things like vehicles and the like. I think the only other country that does a little bit of that is the Netherlands. And America is obviously trying to do it, but America also doesn't like us, so that's a whole different discussion, right? And so we forced the Taiwan's liaison offices in Pretoria and Cape Town to change their name to Taipei Commercial Offices, right? So that was the first slight. At this point, Taiwan isn't entirely upset. The real upset happens as soon as Pretoria, or the government in this case, the ANC, tells Taiwan to get out of Pretoria, which is the capital of South Africa. All embassies are in the capital because they're embassies, that's where they go, and instead to move them to Johannesburg. And from the government's perspective, it just makes sense. This is a commercial office, it's a liaison's office, it doesn't matter. And Johannesburg is the commercial hub of South Africa, so that's where that should go. Which, of course, as you can imagine, for the Taiwanese people who are consistently fighting this war against China, or at least trying to fend off a full-scale invasion from the Chinese homeland or mainland, you can imagine this was an incredible slap in their face. It's so interesting, though, that when South Africa, when it comes to Gaza, South Africa is willing to go to bat for these people's right to exist. But when it comes to Taiwan, South Africa is completely silent. And if anything, South Africa will probably stand by and watch an entire people be forcibly integrated into mainland China. And if there's hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that die in the sort of preamble to this, then I guess South Africa will also just be completely quiet. The fact of the matter is that every single bad thing that happens in South Africa happens because of our country's asinine sort of foreign affairs, I guess you could say, angle, right? We preach neutrality, and yet we're never neutral. We allow ourselves to be dragged into things that has nothing to do with us. China wanting Taiwan has nothing to do with us. We gain nothing by pissing off Taiwan or by pissing off China. The best we can do is what every other country in the world does, and that is to just say, yeah, we don't recognize Taiwan as a country, but nevertheless, we're going to trade with them. We're not going to antagonize them, except not in South Africa's case, right? We could also do the same thing. We could do what literally every other country did in the world, and that was to condemn the war between Israel and Gaza. That's it, right? No other reasons, or we shouldn't have to do anything else. But no, at the behest of Iran, we charge headlong into an ICJ, an international court of justice case against Israel because, of course, that's just what we do. You'll note that almost none of the BRICS partners joined us in that. You'll also note that none of the other BRICS partners are following us in most of our absolutely asinine sort of approaches to foreign or diplomatic relations around the world. And ultimately, I think South Africa is starting to become that kid that you all had this when you were growing up in high school, going out to bars, going out drinking on on the weekends. Everyone had this one friend in their circle of friends that would be the smallest, never interested in fighting, but would be the loudest, right? They would be the one trying to pick fights with everyone. And they would always get you into fights. Now, not me. I never got into fights because I always just viewed it as incredibly barbaric. But fundamentally, that's just every friend group has one of these. We had one. He was a great guy when he was sober, but when he was drunk, he wanted to start fights with everyone. That's sort of what I view South Africa as. South Africa is picking fights with America, picking fights with pretty much everyone in the world. And it thinks that BRICS will just be there to pick up the slack consistently. You'll note that at the last BRICS summit, Russia sent mid-level representatives. China, mid-level representatives. Saudi, mid-level representatives. Iran, mid-level representatives. The only people present there was Ramaphosa, the president of India, and the president of Brazil. They were hosting it, so they obviously had to be there. But you'll note that this was the first summit after, this was the improved and sort of enlarged new BRICS unit, right? And the two biggest countries in the BRICS unit, they weren't even there. More importantly, with the addition of more and more African nations as well as nations to the BRICS nations, South Africa is just diluting its own presence. It was already the fifth and least impactful and interesting country in the BRICS union. It's now fallen even further, right? Because Iran and Saudi are far more powerful and far more impactful than South Africa. So we are ultimately just diluting our own presence, and we could very easily get to a point where even the BRICS nations are looking at South Africa going, yeah, you're on your own, bro. We don't care. And this presents a phenomenal opportunity for Donald Trump to further comp stomp the entirety of South Africa into submission because Trump likes Taiwan. He's the first president in the history of America, at least in the modern history of America, to actually take a phone call from the president of Taiwan the first day he got into office the first time. And I think he did it this time as well. So Trump has no problem with Taiwan. Trump could very easily tell Taiwan, hey, I have this issue with South Africa. How's about we make a deal, right? I will give you guys complete duty-free, tariff-free access to the American markets, but you sanction the living crap out of South Africa. In the article, News 24 sort of highlights that, it doesn't matter because, a lot of the automobile makers like Toyota and BMW, Mercedes, they'll organize and gain these semiconductor deals for their own companies, and then they'll be the ones to distribute it. But since Taiwan are the ones making it, they could absolutely tell these companies that, hey, if you're going to send any of our chips to South Africa, we're going to charge you more, which will just put further pressure on an industry that is already struggling to make money. The truth is, you read through the News 24 article, and again, they highlight all of the most important stuff, the stuff that our government is doing. But then they also end it, which is pretty much every single one of their articles, on this high note where, this isn't really the government's fault. And there's an upside to all of this. Yeah, I'm sure there's an upside. America, our second most important trading partner, and just by consumer market cap, the most important partner that we have, considering the stuff that we export to them and import from them. They're super upset with us, and we may actually be facing a 30 to a 40% increase in tariffs literally tomorrow. And now Taiwan is looking to ban semiconductor exports to South Africa, which would completely cripple our automakers, but also literally anyone that produces anything larger than a chappie will ultimately be impacted by this and would be sent into the dark ages. And no, China's chipsets do not match what Taiwan has. China cannot make the chips that Taiwan makes. We've seen that. We've seen the graphics cards coming out of China. Those graphics cards are on par with graphics cards we had 20 years ago. So China's technology is nowhere close to what it would need to be in order to match that of Taiwan. If this happens to South Africa, if Trump sees that gap, Trump could really put South Africa in the ground. And the ANC continues to play, I guess, big dick, thinking that they can win this war. It's annoying, but this is where we are. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of all of this. I'd love to read your thoughts. As always, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what I do and you think more people should have access to rational and honest conversations about the stuff happening in South Africa, please consider hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, and leaving a comment because it does help YouTube likes engaged viewership. As always, a massive shout out to all of the patrons as well as the YouTube channel members that allow me to keep doing what I'm doing in a world where YouTube really doesn't want us to do what we do. So to become a member, hit that join button just below this video, or watch all of my videos completely ad-free over on Patreon for as little as $3 a month. It's in dollar, but yeah, you get the point. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of you. Peace.